My life be like, yeah. My life be like, yeah. Yeah. My life be like, yeah. My life be like times like these that make you say, yeah. Lord, if you see me, please come my way.
From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, please welcome Peter Mata.
My life be like times like these that make me say, yeah. Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs or when I stray, yeah. I don't sacrifice in the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, more feelings I need, more like you. Try not to put the fire with the things I do. Like times like these that make me say, yeah. Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs or when I stray, yeah. I don't sacrifice in the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, more feelings I need, more like you.
All right, beautiful people, welcome in to the Anaks podcast. It's been a minute. I'll give you that. It has been a minute, but I'll tell you this, it's going to be worth it today. I have Peter with us. Anak, Peter, how you doing?
Doing good, Ryan, as always. Happy New Year to you and everyone.
Happy New Year to all of our loyal subscribers who have been with us, whether you just joined us or whether you've been rocking with us from the start. We appreciate you. It's already been a year, Peter, since our very, very first podcast. It wasn't released, but we did a podcast early last year. I remember 2020. We went over a lot of upcoming things and that LSU versus Clemson national championship game. So it's already been a year since then. But today, what are we talking about, Peter, today? What are we talking about?
We are talking about NFL football. I know that's a fun topic for all our viewers. It's one of our more viewed podcasts or clips that we have out there. And we're pretty much going to be talking about the regular season. It was COVID-ridden, but really NFL did a pretty good job compared to other leagues dealing with COVID. I mean, no games were canceled. They were moved around, and Denver started a receiver at quarterback and things like that. But it was really, they at least completed a full season. So we're going to be talking about the regular season, a little review on that, and also some reaction to the recent Super Wildcard Weekend that we had 6 beautiful games.
It was 6 beautiful games. First time ever where we had 7 teams representing each conference. So me and Peter, we're going to dive in and dissect that. But yeah, as Peter mentioned right now, we're just happy that we have NFL football and NFL was able to conduct their regular season in its entirety, because that was the main concern, obviously, going into it was all of the COVID concerns. And I think for the most part, we can say that they've done a pretty good job in limiting or making sure that COVID isn't going to impact that regular season schedule. So shout out, hats off to the NFL for that. But yeah, we're going to go over Super Wildcard Weekend. It's Captain Crunch time. Captain Crunch. It's a top 3 cereal in my opinion, but anyways, that's besides the point. Captain Crunch time in the NFL. This is where the bread is made. This is where the teams and the cream of the crop, as I always say, rise to the top. And we're going to be going over that. But first, in our very first NFL looking into this season, we made a lot of predictions, some TBHs on Peter and my behalf. So we're going to kind of touch base on how those panned out. And besides that, we're going to then dive into recap of the super duper wildcard weekend. Did not disappoint, as well as a look ahead to the divisional round that's coming up Saturday and Sunday of this week, as well as who we think is going to eventually get to the top and raise that Lombardi trophy come February. So, Peter, without further ado, let's get to business, all right? We'll talk about it. Let me ask you first.
Sure.
How'd your predictions go? We'll start off with who you thought the offensive and defensive breakout players are going to be. I want to know them.
Offense and defense. So offense first, I think we both chose Kyler Murray. And our last podcast, when we were talking about him, he was going on a good path. And he ended it pretty good, I'd say, stat-wise. Now, I know my first TBH on him, I said he was going to double his stats. I think I said he was going to get like 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. He didn't get that. He got 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. What is that, 4,000 yards or so, just under that. And, overall, though, I think he played really well. He also rushed for, let me see, what does that say? Rushed for 819 yards. So that's a 300-yard improvement from the previous year. So his rush game was strong. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins was a huge get for them. The Texans just decided to give him away. I know that's been memed and gifed to death with Bill O'Brien. But but yeah, I think he did well. I think it was a good breakout player for us to choose. I think one of the things the Cardinals, though, I would say for me, they were a bit of a disappointing team for them to finish 8-8. And we'll get a little bit more into other disappointing teams, but I guess I'll just jump into the Cardinals real quick. I mean, you saw the offensive firepower with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. We were a little disappointed with Kenyon Drake's production a little bit, especially I had him in fantasy. I know I traded him to you, and he was just okay. He ended up with 900 yards, but they were kind of missing that second option, in my opinion. But Kyler Murray took a huge step along with DeAndre Hopkins. So the Cardinals, while I'm disappointed they didn't make the playoffs, I think they made a huge step in the right direction. And I think it was overall a good choice for both of us to choose Kyler Murray as a breakout player. My defensive breakout player, I got Greedy. His name is Greedy Williams from LSU.
Greedy Williams.
He didn't even see the light of day this year.
Gollum.
Sadly. So we're going to have to get Greedy next year, unfortunately. The Browns are doing good, and we'll get more into that. But, yeah, I mean, I thought Greedy was going to do well. I obviously went to LSU. You see the sign right behind me and this newspaper, support my Tigers. I thought Greedy was going to break out. They had a new defense coordinator from the 49ers. He's a talented player. His name is freaking Greedy Williams for a cornerback. So, the logic was there, except the execution was not. So we'll just shelve that for next year. In terms of I think for you, if you want to talk a little bit more, Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, I went with Javon Kinlaw. Niners drafted him. Bang, bang, Niner gang, as they say here in the Bay Area. But it certainly was anything but bang, bang, Niner gang this year. It was just injury plagued. I mean, and we talked about this too in our initial podcast when we were overlooking the 2020 season. And we said, it's so tough, especially coming off a Super Bowl loss. Usually those teams, I mean, they don't really fare well after that Super Bowl loss that following year. So, but I mean, the injuries is one thing. And the main reason why I put some of my chips into Javon Kinlaw's stock was because I knew he had Bosa on the other end and they were going to just tag team it. But unfortunately, we know what happened to Bosa early in the year. And it just kind of set the tone as far as injury plague. It was just bad luck, really, all around. I mean, all across all three facets of the game. I mean, they were missing players. Kittle was out mainly most of the year. They got running back seems like a carousel going around and who's going to start today because whoever's injured the last week. So that was a bust. I'll be point blank, period. Kinlaw was a bust. He only ended with 1.5 sacks. So one
he
and
had
a half
a touchdown,
sacks.
though. I saw that touchdown.
So he had a TD, but I was like, man, this is going to sack city over here in San Francisco. And unfortunately it wasn't. And his only sack and a half came against
the Saints. Yeah.
Saints. So I was just like, I was just eating my own words at that point. So that was a little bit of bust, a little bit of a reach because we all know kind of right now, defensive breakout player or rookie of the year. I mean, it's Chase Young. I mean, what a year he's had, not only on the field, but also as a leader. And he's going to be someone that we're all going to be following in years to come, bringing that Washington team at least to the playoffs with that horrible division that they're in. But Chase Young definitely he was the pick, and I'm sure that he was on our radars. It was just the easy pick, if you will, and we didn't really want to go that easy route for a breakout player, and especially. But
what'd you think of Kyler? Your pick.
We touched base on Kyler, and Kyler was great at moments. He had some phenomenal moments. I think that interception number is still a little bit too high. He had 12 picks his rookie year, and he followed that up this year with 12 picks again. So if he can drop that number under 10, where it's a single-digit number, I think that's when we can really talk about him as an MVP candidate. But I mean, when you add DeAndre Hopkins to any team, it's going to elevate the quarterback play. So I'm not surprised that his yardage went up, and it's not that 5,000 mark that you expected, but 4,000 yards or very close to it is still a very, very great statistic. And the rushing ability. I mean, some of his rushes for touchdowns were just absolutely Lamar Jackson-esque. But aside from that, I think Arizona, they were a very, very fun team to watch this year. But as you mentioned, I think they're missing that. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, he's not at that point in his career where he can be a consistent count-on number 2 guy. They're missing that tight end that maybe is good or a good number 2 wide receiver. But besides that, I think that I would say that it was a hit with the prediction that Murray was going to break out, because I think he had a phenomenal year, as we mentioned. But with Kinlaw, for myself, that was a bust. That was a big-time bust. Big time bust.
Come on, Ryan. It's not like mine was like he didn't even play. Greedy didn't even play. Kinlaw, at least he showed up.
Kinlaw played and still had 1 point. Think about this. Kinlaw had only 1.5 more sacks than Greedy. I mean,
okay. I got your point. And he plays defensive line. So
yes, and then he doesn't play defensive line, but I was just hoping for a little bit more, and it just wasn't that year. It wasn't the year for Niner fans. I'm sorry. Bang Bang Niner Gang has to wait another year. They'll be back next year a little bit more full strength when they get their boys back healthy. But looking back at 2020, it's a year to forget. It's a year to forget.
Yes,
but yeah, that's how things went with our predictions for our breakout. So we'll move alongside, and these are the big dogs. These are guys going for the real dog MVP, offensive, defensive MVP. Peter, let's go over it real quick. Who did you have?
I had Nick Bosa, and you went over him just a while ago, and just like Greedy, he's out for the year pretty much early in the year. At least he played a little bit, but not for long. So there's really not much to say about Nick Bosa. Hope he's well, recovering well. We'll see him next year. I guess we'll move to your defensive pick, Khalil Mack. His numbers,
it's clear. It's Khalil Mack numbers, if maybe a little bit worse. I mean, it's what you come to expect, and I was expecting more. And as I mentioned, I think a big reason why I like Khalil Mack was because his first few games were cupcakes on the schedule, and they were. But he just didn't make his impact then. He made it, throughout the course of the regular season. He had 9 sacks to end the year, which is very modest. I mean, with Khalil Mack, you're expecting a little bit more, but I think I'd have to categorize this as a bust. I know that it's very on the fence. It should be neither a hit or a bust. It kind of is in that middle ground area, but I'll categorize it as a bust because I was expecting a little bit more, and his name wasn't really mentioned that much at all this year. I mean,
he was quiet.
Yeah, signature moments, and I mean, the runaway defensive player of the year, or I shouldn't say runaway, but definitely the top dog right now is TJ Watt. I know his team got eliminated. We'll go over that in a little bit, but TJ Watt definitely is the front runner in the defensive player of the year. Unfortunately, we didn't sniff it out, guys.
I was thinking him too early on, but I was like, I don't want to go with another Watt,
Yeah, I mean, it's such a familiar name, so I mean, he impressed me. I'm not even gonna lie. He was someone that obviously is on our radar just based off his name. But that Steeler defense to start off the year, they were no joke. They didn't go 11-0 for no reason.
Right, exactly.
So that defense was the one carrying them. It wasn't Ben. It wasn't James Conner. It was that defense, and T.J. Watt was leading that defense. So we missed the mark there. But yeah, going back to our defense. I mean, Peter, I'm sorry, but your picks were it was just not lucky this year.
No, it wasn't.
Injury.
Yeah, same thing with my fantasy team. Every player I choose just gets injured. Same thing with, even my team pick, and we'll get in a little bit more, but I mean, the Cowboys, they obviously know what happened to them. Injuries too.
Oh my gosh, Peter. Damn.
2021 is going to be better. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. This is an apology for everyone who tailed Peter this year. Peter had some phenomenal predictions that have panned out true. But this year in the NFL, I'm sorry, Peter, it just wasn't that year. I mean, like you said, 2021. I'm gonna go with every pick that Peter picks because it's time for a turnaround.
Yes, indeed.
Can't be that unlucky.
Everything was upside down last year, so
Yeah, everything was flipped upside down. So, yeah, that was the case for that. But as far as offensive, who did you
Offense
have,
was-
Peter? Remind me, who did you have?
I had Patrick Mahomes, my fellow PM. Yeah, he had another solid MVP season. I mean, I don't think it was his best season ever, but I mean, shoot, was it 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 4,700 yards? I mean, any other year, any other quarterback, that's MVP like. So he's going to be right up there in the talks. I'm sure there's other guys. I mean, Russell Wilson will probably still get talked about. Lamar didn't quite have the same season that he had last year, so he probably won't get it this year. And Josh Allen with the Bills will probably be in the talks as well. But I mean, I think mine was a hit for Patrick Mahomes. I guess it's a safe pick. Can never go wrong with a PM. Peter Mata, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Phil Mickelson. PMs are good.
Keep going. Keep going.
Just off the top of my head, those are good PMs.
Yeah, that's just on the top of your head. So that's not a bad list to be accompanied by those greats, Peter. But I'm sure that they're equally as happy to be paired with you as you with them.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, with Patrick, I mean, come on, Peter. It doesn't take a superstar NFL analyst to say Patrick Mahomes is going to have a good year. I'll tag you on that. But on the flip side, I mean, year in and year out, he's just thrusting himself into that category where it's just absolute greatness. And still, we have to remember how young he is. I mean, he's still so young, but at the same time, I mean, it seems like no lead is safe. And just to be tagged along with the receiving core that he does have, I mean, with Hill, Kelsey, you got Demarcus Robinson, all those guys can fly. I mean, Legion of Zoom. I really like that name too. I think that name is
a good one. Never heard that one.
Yeah, put some respect on Kelsey's name. He can't fly as fast as Tyreek Hill, but he sure can catch. And he is that security blanket, if you will, for Patrick. So I think as long as he has that core that he's throwing to, he's going to be for sure on that top of that list for MVP candidate year in and year out. Mm-hmm. But it was a safe pick, Peter. Yeah. A safe pick. And we know in the NFL anything can happen. Anything can happen. So that's why I think through and through with how this year went, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's still everyone's top dog if we're doing
for
like
sure.
A fantasy.
They're the champs, the defending champs. So
defending champs. So for myself, though, I went a little flip side of the coin. I went with the NFC, and I went with Russell Wilson. Great start to his season. I mean, everyone thought he would be the runaway MVP of the year. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened midway through the year. I guess they maybe Pete Carroll was up late one night watching some highlights of the 2013 Seahawks and said, "Hold on,
whoa,
slow things down. We need to get this defense back because their defense was atrocious."
Yeah, it was.
But they were winning games. They were winning games because that was the identity of the team. Mm-hmm. It seemed like this team was suited better for an offensive attack rather than to limit their offense and go back to improving their defense. And I'll give them that. They did improve their defense, but at what expense? And Wilson was limited, it felt like, and he wasn't able to just do his free-for-all as he did in the beginning of the season. It showed as his numbers started to drop. Still had a phenomenal year.
Right.
He ended the year with 40 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Like I said, I'm big on that interception number. And I need that 13 to go down in single digits for me to feel comfortable that you have an MVP-type season. But besides that, his first half of the year, I'd say, was phenomenal, MVP bound. But after that, he tailed off. And I would say now it would be blasphemous to say in Week 8 that Russell Wilson may not even receive an MVP vote. But now it's very likely that he may not even receive an MVP vote. So, yeah, I'm not going to say it's a bust. I'm not going to say it's a hit. I'll just leave it at that middle ground where Pete Carroll, come on, let the man cook. It's Mr. Unlimited.
I was about to say, you can't limit Mr. Unlimited.
No.
I mean, no. I couldn't agree with more what you said. I mean, he was going. The first 8 weeks, first half of the season, they were going. They were zipping it. They looked more like an offensive threat, like you were saying, instead of, the Legion of Boom. It was a different Seattle team for sure. And they've been kind of like trending that way this past few years. But, it's also become kind of a a running joke exactly for Russell Wilson to be scrambling every play and then just throwing it up. Now he's got DK Metcalf, so he just throws it up to him. Hell, he had a play like that in the playoff game. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that dude's ripped, so I don't blame you if you throw the ball up to him. But you couldn't have said it any better, Ryan. I mean, you can't limit Mr. Unlimited. I mean, you have to go with how your team is playing and the way they're playing, and just embrace that identity for the season and see where it takes you. Fortunately, it didn't take them, where they wanted to. They tailed off.
I think we'll touch base just in a moment about it, but I think that how their season ended, I mean, it was a perfect ending into how I think their season should have ended with the way that they did play out things. I had them in the Super Bowl. We'll talk in a sec about this, but it's frustrating to see, especially when you know your offense capabilities and you've seen it. I mean, first 8 weeks, it was phenomenal, but that's neither here nor there. It's just a pick that we made, or I made in the beginning of the year, that just didn't pan out to how I wanted it to. But yeah, that's our picks. Peter, any other input you have on our picks?
I don't have any regrets. I mean, it sucks that both my defensive players got injured. I wish they at least played, see what they could. I mean, if they were bust like Kinlaw, then it would have been even pretty disappointing too. But to see them not even play is just like, well, you're not even sniffing their butts. So I'm not even in the game.
No, not even in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll move and we'll segue now. We talked a lot about individual players. We'll go into teams. So real quick, let the viewers know, what was your Super Bowl prediction when we had it before the season started, Peter?
So we both chose the Chiefs. I think we both chose the Chiefs to go and win. Is that correct? Right.
That's correct.
I chose the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my gosh.
Jerry must have been excited when he heard that. Peter Mata chose the Cowboys. Quick, everyone, put money on the Cowboys.
I put
bad
my
choice.
whole investment portfolio on the Cowboys right after you said that.
Yeah, the stock market went up right when I said it. Bad choice. The NFC East was just in general a bad choice. I mean, they still had a chance to make the playoffs in the last week there. Crazy enough. So, I mean, I wasn't really cheering for them, though. I couldn't support a 6-10 team going or 7.
No.
Yeah, that's just too much. 7-9 is already terrible. I mean, then they hosted a playoff game, the Washington football team.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that. It's like, what are y'all doing, NFC East? Like, come on. And the Eagles fired their coach, Doug Peterson. He won the Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, I get he benched Jalen Hurts, but come on now. I mean, what are y'all doing? He went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He went to the Super Bowl and went to the playoffs twice. He had another playoff win in one of those years. And you're going to fire him just after one bad year? I don't know, man. City of brotherly love.
Yeah. There's got to be more to it for sure. It's all on relationships as well, because we know, after the Saints won, Sean Payton had a lot of years where we were kind of in that limbo, 8-8, 7-9, and then we had a few worse years, I should say. But we know Sean Payton and what he brings culture-wise, to our organization. And so that's why he's still our coach. But yeah, with someone like Doug, who just, in a recent memory time, won a Super Bowl against Tom Brady, and now he's outed. It just shows, maybe the type of culture that he brought wasn't just exactly what the vision was for that Philadelphia Eagles team. But yeah, I mean, a lot of bonehead, questionable decisions that were made by that Philadelphia Eagles team. I mean, even in that last game, as you mentioned. But yeah, the NFC East, I know you picked the Cowboys to go all the way, and if Dak was healthy throughout, maybe that's a different story. But yeah, that NFC East 2020 is going to be a year to forget for sure for that division. I think if you put in that Bama team or that LSU 2019 team, we're atop that division. But
I was just watching highlights of a game around like the 9th week 9, and I saw the little underscore, and it said Washington was 2-7 at that point.
Oh man!
Which, I mean, they rallied great to get 5-4 or whatever.
Within that last few games.
5-2, but like they were 2-7 and they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's no excuse. NFL, fix it. Fix it, NFL. We should not have a team that is with a below 500 record be hosting a playoff game. I mean,
Yeah.
Tom Brady just went in there and rubbed his booty cheeks all over the field. But I mean, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, going over what we had at Super Bowl, you had Dallas losing to
Yeah,
Kansas City,
Seattle. Sorry about
and then I
that.
had Seattle on the backs of my prediction of Russell Wilson just having a phenomenal year. Unfortunately, um, they did not get to where I thought they would get, but I mean, it wouldn't be far fetched to say that they had a shot at least with Kansas
Yeah,
City.
they made the
I mean,
playoffs and look good. So
yeah, the whole year they've been cruising on cruise control, if you will. It kind of reminds me of, I hate to bring it up because I'm not a fan of this team or this dynasty, if people want to call it that, but it reminds me of the Warriors in that
oh,
2015 to 2020 range where it doesn't matter how much they're down, they'll just make it happen and they'll flick that switch up and they'll
mhm.
win the game. And it seems so effortless,
Mm,
but in a Patrick Mahomes way. So that's why I think it's a little bit of a just man. I wish I was. I wish that was my team type of feel with the Chiefs, and they're in a division that doesn't really strike the fear out of many teams. But although I'll give Herbert a shout out because he had a phenomenal year.
mhm.
Uh, I
Yeah, he
don't think
did.
he deserves. Yeah, I don't think he deserves Rookie of the Year offense though, because they got to go to our boy Justin Jets. But I think a lot of the people are picking Herbert the pervert to win that award. But I think Justin Jets, man, that boy showed something, man, and he's had
Yeah,
it.
broke
He's had it.
records.
Broke records. Two-star recruit. Two-star recruit. Um, I mean, he's going to be a beast in this league for years to come. So
Mhm.
excited about that. But yeah, quick shout out to that. But yeah, we have the Chiefs winning. That was our beginning of the year
Safe pick.
prediction. So
It's
yeah,
absolutely
safe,
safe.
very safe pick. But we'll go into it in a little bit of who we think now is and if anything has altered. But yeah, that was our teams. That was our beginning. We did a quick little recap for y'all that forgot. But we'll go into now our favorite segment by some when we talk about our Ayun moments.
Ayun.
Ayun, and it
Yeah.
was a year filled with plenty of Ayun moments in the NFL. So, Peter, let's break it down. Start from the top, number three, or start from number three down. What was your number three Ayun moment in the
My
NFL?
number 3 Ayun moment was the finish between the Dolphins and Raiders. I believe week 16. So, did you watch that game or see the ending at least highlights?
You know what? I'm lost in the sauce. You have to remind me here.
It's obviously it's on YouTube, but 4 minutes to go.
Yeah.
I believe it's 16-13 Raiders. And so the Dolphins kick a field goal, they tie it up.
Oh yeah. Sorry. This is the Thursday night game.
Yeah,
Or Saturday night game, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
something like
Go on.
that. Yeah, and they kick a field, tie the game, and then the Raiders come back with, I believe, just one play, a bomb from Carr to Aguilar. He makes a great catch and then zigzags, through the defenders, gets a touchdown. They missed the extra point. Uh-oh. It's 22-16. I'll probably be showing some of the highlights as I'm talking here. 22-16, and then the Dolphins get it right back. I believe I don't even think it takes that many plays. It's just another long play to Gaskin, who was one of my better fantasy players. I'd suggest people get Gaskin. Look out for him. And it was just like a simple dump off pass, and he just found the edge and ran it all the way to the end zone. They score a touchdown. They make the extra points, 23-22. So then the Raiders, I think it's about 2 minutes left. They throw a deep one, pass interference. But, there's about 2 minutes left, so they only have 2 timeouts, the Dolphins. So the Raiders kind of tick it off instead of actually, going for a touchdown. And they take it off to about, I think, 30 seconds. Kick the field goal, take the 2-point lead. But then it's not over yet. The Dolphins, Fitzmagic, throws a little haymaker. I think his face mask gets twisted, all up in his beard and his gum. But he makes this completion to the receiver plus the face mask, gets him into field goal range. They nail, I think, like a 44-yarder or something like that. And they get their 10th win. Dolphins, very surprising team, by the way. That's a segment that I guess we can talk about a little bit as we're talking to the very surprising team to get 10 wins. This point, they didn't get to the playoffs, but man, that whole finish has made me say, Ayun.
Ayun, ay nako. But yeah, I remember watching that, and I was watching it here too. I don't know why I had a lapse right now that I forgot about that game, but what are you doing? I don't know. For me, Peter, I'm running it in the end zone, and I'm saying, if you want to beat me, score a touchdown on me. You know, because I was saying it. I was telling Uncle Robert, I was like, and we were agreeing. We were like, you cannot give them, because anything can happen in a play. You can get a flag, which did happen, or you can get a fluke play where someone catches a impossible catch, and turns out both of those things happen. and that was really their playoff chances right there.
Yeah, they were still in it. Yeah,
because at the time they were still in it, and that was number one. Like, I totally forgot that's number one on my honorable mention Ayun moments list.
The Raiders had some close, like, exciting games.
Yeah,
they won, I think, a couple, and then also lost one couple in this spectacular fashion. So,
yeah, I mean, only the Raiders, right? Yeah. Only the Raiders
Las Vegas
themselves. Yeah, that's Las Vegas. Actually, they got a call from. I'm actually not going to speak on that regard, but they got a call from people high up, and they said, you know what, you got to end this game how we want to end this game.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree with you more. They should have. They were like inside the 5. They should have just tried to ram it in there. I mean,
and so, like, I think that the mindset of Gruden was that he wanted to just give the Miami Dolphins the least amount of time as possible, but I don't think that that's the right.
Unless it's the final play, unless it can get to the final play, you got to try to score.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, Fitzmagic especially. Fitzmagic especially. Two people that I don't want to have the ball with 30 seconds left. Fitzmagic and Tom Brady. That's it. All right.
Exactly.
That's a short list.
Legend himself.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that was an Ayun moment, Peter. I'll segue into mine because we'll keep it. We'll keep it in the silver and black. Because I got number 3. I'm talking about. Let's see. I'm talking about week 13. All right, Raiders versus Jets. Man, oh man, and this is gonna actually be beneficial to the Raiders. We'll talk about this, but the bonehead call. I don't know who made the call. Was it Greg Williams? Was it? I don't know who made the call. Right? Not our boy. Right? Not our boy Greggy. But all out blitz. We'll have man.
That's Greg. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Greg.
That's Greg.
He called in the bounty again, but you let Ruggs beat you, who runs a 4.27 on a double move. You have to know the time, place of the game, and he just burns Lamar Jackson. Not to get confused with the quarterback Lamar Jackson. This is the cornerback Lamar Jackson. Just absolutely burns him in his tracks. Derek Carr, of all people, just throws an absolute dime to him. I mean, people talked a lot about the play call on the defensive side, but at the same time, that play still has to be made by the quarterback and the receivers. Right. Carr has to still make a good throw, which he did, and Ruggs has to still make a good catch, which he did at the expense of still the winless Jets at the time. I thought that was a head scratcher, but an Ayun moment for sure, just based off of the fact that was a walk-off game winner, if you will.
Were you more cheering for the Jets or the Raiders? Because it could be like, young.
I know. So I honestly wasn't cheering for any team, but when you see a team lose at the expense of either a play call and DB just not knowing the time and place, and your team is winless, that could have been, I mean, people said they were going for Trevor Lawrence. Well, they don't even have Trevor Lawrence. The year's ended, and it's going to Jacksonville with Urban Meyer. So, I don't know, because people were like, "Oh, the Jets wanted to lose that game." Hell, maybe they did, but did they not want to win the game against Cleveland? They sure did beat the brakes off of them. Did they not want to win? Who else did they beat?
They won like 2 in a row, huh? Or something
they won 2 in a row. They had a nice little 2-game win streak.
They beat the what was it? Was it the Chargers? No, it was the Rams, the other LA team.
Oh yeah, they beat the Rams. Yeah, that was a fluke. And shoot, look at the Rams; they're still in it right now. but yeah, that was an Ayun moment for sure for me, just because it was one of those plays where you're just like, these guys make money, like these coordinators that are making these calls, and that's why I was just Oh man.
Ayun. Yeah, that's probably Greg. I mean, he's
Yeah.
done that with the Saints a few times. Throw some blitzes in the last second. It could.
Yeah.
I mean, it works sometimes, but it also costs you
Yeah.
big
Roll the
time.
dice, right?
Mhm.
Greggy Williams.
Yeah. So I mean, especially they were winless at that time. Goodness
Yeah.
me. I was
And he
like,
got canned too, so not like he
same
wanted
with
to.
Adam Gase. Yeah, who's been a walking meme since he's been hired by the Jets.
Yeah. What do you want? Like end the game with the sack and Greg Williams is just
He knows
I
it's
made that
cool.
call. I made that call. No, like you get burned
Yeah.
on a double move go route. It's just done.
Mm.
But that's number 3, Peter. What's
Number
your
three.
number 2? Ayun moment.
My number 2 was the Ravens beating the Browns. Week.
Dan, you don't talk about that in this household. You know that.
Oh, well, I mentioned it.
Okay.
I put it out on the airways. Week 14, back and forth shootout. What a game that was, wasn't it? Ravens versus Browns, two divisional rivals, two teams with history together. I mean, the Ravens were pretty much the Cleveland Browns before, so very interesting rivalry. And hell, they're two teams that are still in it in the playoffs. The specific game that I'm talking about, Week 14, back and forth battle. I believe the Ravens had a 34-20 lead somewhere there in the early fourth. And the Browns come storming back. Baker Mayfield making a few plays, a few passes to his receivers, to his running backs. They get it, take the lead, I believe 35-34. Then Lamar Jackson, who I think got dinged up in that game, but came back. And this is really an Ione moment when it was 4th and 5, and it looked like he's just scrambling, but then throws it to Marquise Brown down the field wide open, and he just slashes right into the end zone. They take the lead. The Browns do come back to score and tie the game, but Lamar Jackson, he's getting lots of hate because he's not your typical quarterback, but he has shown heart this year. Maybe he hasn't had the same stats that he had last year, but he's shown heart, specifically in this game, specifically in the playoffs, and he drove them down the field. Justin Tucker, quality kicker, 55-yarder down the middle. They get the win. Makes me say, Ayun.
Shoot, man. This Ayun moment, and I just mentioned it. I'm currently residing in a Browns dominant household with Uncle Robert and Kyle. But that was an Ayun moment. That was a great game. A lot of people call that the game of the year. And it's up there. It's up there for sure. The whole Lamar debacle on why he went to the locker room. Some people say, oh, it was an actual injury. Some people say he had, something going on in the stomach section where he needed to just release some toxins.
Paul Pierce.
Whatever it was. Yeah, he came out and made that play. And I don't know how you let the fastest guy on the field in Hollywood Brown that open on a 4th and 5. But that was a great game. And Justin Tucker, right? Like, death, taxes, and Justin Tucker making field goals. I mean, that's just life. That's life in 3 phrases. So that was that. And that's an Ayun moment. It was a great game. Number 2 for me, Peter, it was a performance. Not just an overall game. This is a performance. And it had happened to come on Christmas Day.
Oh, do tell.
And this is what I call the Christmas Camiracle. I know, cheesy. I know. I'm lactose intolerant. I don't give a hell. This was a performance of the ages. 6 touchdowns. We can talk about all the fantasy relevance that had. I'll leave that to the side. I'll just focus in on the individual performance that Alvin had that day. 6 touchdowns, and it felt a little sweeter on the Minnesota Vikings, who are, they're not a divisional rival, but they are a conference rival. And for a team that has knocked us out 2 of the last 3 years in the playoffs, it felt so sweet to have Kamara get in the end zone 6 times. Should have been 7.
It should have been
but that's
7.
neither here nor there. He had tied the record that had been standing for like a good 100-ish years. I don't know the exact amount of time that record held with 6 touchdowns in a single game, but a performance for the ages, for sure. And it happened to have on Christmas Day, kind of took a little bit of the NBA limelight away. So that's why I think that NFL, there's just, give me every holiday. Because we enjoyed pretty much football on every single day this year. I'm trying to think. Monday, of course, Monday Night Football. We had a Tuesday night football game. I remember that. We had a Wednesday night football game.
Yeah,
We
the
had
Steelers, I
Thursday
think,
night,
were one.
and then Friday, it was Christmas on a Friday. So we had football, NFL football, every day of the week this year. But this definitely tops the list as far as individual performances, whole game wise concerned. 6 touchdowns, Peter. 6.
Ayun.
Ayun for sure.
Wonderful pick, man. I almost can't believe I didn't pick. I mean, I didn't even remember that. I mean, Alvin Kamara, we talked about this, I think, in our last podcast in the NFL that, he has been injured last year and he did show those signs. And this year he's shown, he's back. Miracle is back. Captain Comerica, whatever you want to call him. I just call him Alvin.
Alvin.
So, he's been great this year. Freaking amazing performance there, Christmas Day. It was a nice Christmas gift to see that. And especially against the Vikings. The Vikings, I was so sour that they took Justin Jefferson because I wanted the Saints to have him. Plus, I just didn't want him to go to the Vikings. So, there's not much else to say other than Ayun. What a performance.
Which leads us to number 1 on both of our lists. Peter, what's your number 1 Ayun moment?
Number 1, we probably got the same one, but
we probably got the same. I already know we got the same one.
The Murray to Hopkins.
Hail Mary.
Last second Hail Mary against the Bills. I believe it was like week 9 or something like that. Middle of the season. We just talked about Kyler Murray, talked about DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals. We're going to talk about the Bills in a minute here. Great game. Hell of a game. I mean, the Bills, they were going back and forth, and the Bills scored, I believe, 34 seconds. Josh Allen leading them down. Hell of a season. Hell of a game. But wait just 1 second.
God.
Kyler Murray makes a few plays, gets some, 30, 40, 50 yards away. I mean, they have 11 seconds. They could probably, make another play, but he scrambles around and just throws an absolute, when you play the game jackpot in recess, you're just like, jackpot. Freaking DeAndre Hopkins, he just got some people. I mean, 3 defenders. Hey, what are you even doing, guys? I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
That was a hell of a catch.
Hell of a catch.
It's always it's always in that stadium. It reminded me of the Packers one against them a few years back.
Yeah.
It's in that same end zone.
That same end zone. And that play in itself, just a whole overall play, knowing the setting of the game, where it was at in the game, and just the fact that Kyler was able to get enough off balance like that.
Yeah.
Heave it up there. And to find Hopkins, in my opinion, top 3 receiver in the league. And that was just magic. I mean, I think the commentator said, like right off the bat, he's like, this is Murray magic. And that's exactly what it was. It was complete insanity. And that's why, of course, all health aside, if COVID wasn't here, I mean, imagine that stadium when that happens. That's something that, of course, is lacking in today's sports world with having these empty arenas or semi-filled arenas. But I mean, I can imagine that stadium just absolutely going bamboozle cocked in there when he caught that and just going like, yes, like student section LSU up 50. But man, that play is the play of the year for sure, and I think that's gonna be Kyler Murray's and DeAndre Hopkins' signature. I mean, I can't really think of. I mean, I'm sure that they have the capability of doing something more spectacular, but I think, as of right now, that's just that play of the year. I mean, maybe even across all sports contexts. I mean, that may be the play of the year in general.
That was a wonderful. It made you say Ayun for sure.
Ayun. That's something where you wake up, mama, and say, look at this. I don't care how far into the nap you are. You say, mama, wake up, look at this. That defines Ayun. That defines Ayun. And that's exactly, me and you have it. Number 1, Ayun moments. I'm sure that there's plenty of other plays that could have cracked this list, but definitely I think that we have a strong list. We can sit here all day and talk about Ayun moments this year because it brought so many good Ayun moments. But
that's what makes it so sad, I guess, is with no fans. I mean, there was some really good Ayun moments and some great games in general this year that fans. I mean, the playoffs we're about to talk about. I mean, there were some I mean, they weren't all like close, I guess, at end score, but they were all competitive and they were good games. And you would just wish the full fan experience was there. Would have just took it that much more, that atmosphere. So, but
Can't agree more. But that was a good recap of the 2020 NFL season. It's that time now. I know you guys have been waiting patiently. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that segment where we kind of recapped everything. Now we're gonna talk about the wild card weekend that had just happened, as well as our look ahead time. So,
sir,
pick your feet up, grab your popcorn out of the microwave. It's time. It's time. It's time to talk, Peter. This is where we get down.
I'm ready.
All right, so we're gonna recap it. The super duper first ever wild card weekend with 3 games on Saturday and Sunday. We'll start off from the top. From our team,
Yes, sir.
That Nation. Peter, what you think? How are you gonna dissect that game, that win against the Bears?
Who dat? Saints 21-9. Should have been really 21-3, but hats off to Jimmy Graham for that catch at the end of it. I thought he was going to dive into the stand or do his field goal dunk like he
I thought he was gonna dunk.
Yeah, since he's in the Saints Superdome again. But yeah, 21-9. Saints, I'd say pretty much dominated that game for the most part. I texted you after the first quarter. I think it was 7-0.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a jinx because a bunch of bad series happened, but they ride the ship. Luckily they didn't miss Trubisky through a perfect dime to forgot his name, but I mean it was a perfect
Wims.
Yeah, Wims right through his hands, and
he's the guy that punched Gardner Johnson.
Well, I mean that's karma right there. So, so yeah, I mean we pretty much dominated them from the get-go. The score doesn't indicate it. Should have also gotten a score at the end there, but I think just overall, Sean Payton kind of got a little cute with some of the play calling over the course. That's a typical Sean Payton thing. I mean, as much as we love him, he does get a little cute with his play calling, but he rides the ship, adjusted in the halftime, and defense was solid. Kamara's been solid. Breeze, old man Breeze, he's hanging in there. I know we talked about it previously that we were unsure about the Saints this year in terms of what they can bring, what they can realistically bring. And we said, if things go right, they can still do it. But the thing is, their ceiling is limited with Breeze's arm. So right now, everything's good. I mean, so far, so good. Just keep it up. I think they're playing in rhythm. We'll see. We'll see what they have against Tampa Tom. What do you think of the game?
It wasn't the most exciting game of the weekend, not by any stretch.
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon made it a lot more exciting with the slime zone, and after the game, Sean Payton, man of his word, gets slimed, but I don't know why he's still wearing his Jordans. A lot of people gave him some shit for that because you got people would kill for those Jordans, and he's just, out there giggling, shits and giggles, getting slimed all in the face. Like, come on, Sean, have some respect. Take the shoes off. Mm-hmm. I know you're a Jordan man, so you can have them on the side or something if you want to showcase it, but this man got his Jordan 11 Concord lows just absolutely destroyed with that slime. But yeah, overall, I mean, I thought the game, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't exciting by any stretch compared to the other games we're about to dissect. But from a Saints fan's perspective, I think you have to feel a little bit happy with how we played as a whole. But yeah, I think if we pinpoint certain moments of the game, it does get a little bit of a questionable judgment from a Sean Payton perspective, because some of those things, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know as far as how much confidence I have in Drew to make those throws, because the ball's getting out of his hands within the first 3 seconds. That's fine. We know he can pick it apart. But when it's time for him to, when he gets flushed out of the pocket or needs to make those difficult Patrick Mahomes-esque passes, that's where I can't be all in on that. So, but
to put in Taysom for that one play, and he did have him if you just threw him just like 1 second earlier.
Yeah, he was a little bit off on that one, but yeah, it shows though. But I think overall, we have Kamara, who's healthy, knock on wood. We have Michael Thomas, who's coming back after a year of just absolute here or there, not here, not there moments with Michael Thomas. I'm finally glad to see him back in our rotation. So he's going to be pivotal, and Jared Cookie's always good. But offense has been tagged with Saints for the past 10 years. Let's talk about their defense. I thought that their defense has been playing phenomenal throughout the entire course of this year. Shout out to pretty much everybody, but most importantly, Mr. Cam Jordan, who has been leading that from a leadership standpoint, and also DeMario, who has been absolutely phenomenal. And then our secondary, too. There's no Eli Apple I see back there, so that's why I got a nice little smile on my face. There's no Eli Apple, but we'll see. But again, 21-9, I think that game felt like a 28-3 type of game score.
Right.
But hey, Jimmy Grandpa, he had a snag. That was a nice snag. I'll give him a shout out for that. Our old friend, Jimmy Graham. But we'll move along from our team now. We'll segue into Lamar. Lamar and the Ravens, man. Maybe week 11, people thought they're not even going to make the playoffs. What's going to happen? Now they're in the divisional round, but they got there by beating the Titans. They got some revenge on the Titans who beat them earlier in the year. What do you think of that game, Peter?
That was a good game. That's kind of being a little bit of a rivalry, with the Ravens Titans. I'd like to see them play more often. I think they get feisty. The Titans pretty much try to do the same thing as they did last year, and it was working. They were up 10-0 early on. But Lamar Jackson, I guess, like I was saying earlier, he showed some heart. People have been criticizing him. He's not the typical quarterback. He's not your drop back passer, but I mean, he can run the ball. He's accurate enough as a quarterback. Again, the stats weren't there this year, but he's shown the heart against the Browns. Week 16, he showed the heart to drive them down the field. And in this game, brought them back, scored the touchdown to take the lead, everything like that. I think it was a great game. It was a great game, especially for Lamar to prove that he can win in the playoffs. We'll see how he does going forward, but I was encouraged to see that they won a playoff game under Lamar Jackson. They did great against Derrick Henry, who we have to give him a shout out. 2,000 yards this year. Everyone knows he's going to get the ball. Ryan Tannehill's a game manager essentially, so everyone knows Derrick Henry's going to get the ball, and for him to get 2,000 yards was great. But I don't even think he cracked 50 in this game. So
40.
40. Hats off to the Ravens defense on that. Really good game, and happy to see Lamar get a win. We'll see how he does against the the Buffalo Bills, who we'll talk about in a second here.
Yeah, you hit it on the head right there with that game. And Titans came out the gate 10-0. They were winning 10-0 in that game, and I think that main pivotal changing point in that game was when Lamar broke off for that run, and he just showed his explosiveness just on any given play. He can absolutely turn the tide. And it's going to be scary. But yeah, going back to this specific game, I think that this rivalry in itself is a rivalry that we love to see. Two teams that feel a little bit more of a blue collar, if you will,
right,
in the way that they play. And the stomping on the logo. A lot of people were hating on it. I actually enjoy it. I like to see that because it shows, you're going to do the same thing with us. We're going to do it when it counts. And this is a playoff game right here, win or go home. And they stopped the Titans at what they do best, and that's running the ball. And so they did that. They were able to limit that, neutralize Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown, he is a phenomenal receiver. One of the best in the league, I'd say. So he had his own, but Ravens made more big plays than the Titans did, and I think they're deserving to move on to the next round to play the Bills.
I do know. I know John Harbaugh said that was the greatest win he's ever had, or something like that. So I'd say hold your horses on that, John. You did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, this man won a Super Bowl against the Niners. I hate to bring it up in this household, as Miles is a Niners fan, but he did beat the Niners in our Superdome, and the lights went out at halftime. So that's a memorable game. Come on, what are you doing, John? Come on, John.
I don't know what he's trying to say.
That or it could be even the Denver game, right? When Flacco threw that bomb, Hail Mary.
Right.
80 yards. It's been a while since that, but I remember that game. But I don't know. Maybe he's a prisoner of the moment, and he's just feeling off emotion and what.
Caught him at a emotional time when he's
Yeah,
excited.
but yeah, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That's what he has. That's what he's capable of doing. He can put his team on his back and win a game. But we'll segue into the team that they're going to be playing Saturday, and that's going to be the Bills, who face the Colts in the wild card round. They beat the Colts 27-24. It was a very close game at times. Peter, what you think of that game?
I like it. A good competitive game. I will say I think the Bills did pretty much outplay them for the most part. They probably shouldn't have gotten that close at all. But hell, they pulled it off. They're exercising some demons. There's some teams that are exercising some demons in this playoffs. Bills haven't won a playoff game since 25 years. So was that 1995? So
Yeah.
I mean, that's older than me. So you got to exercise some demons on that. They played great. The Colts, hats off to them. Philip Rivers, they just been solid this year. Good defense. Philip Rivers has shown some signs that he's still got it. Maybe a little older, but he still got it. He's still got that competitive edge. Brought them back. I think it was 27-16 or something at one point, and he continued to bring them back until they had a shot and just didn't get it done. But the Bills are a good team. They went 13-3. So, and for me, they've impressed me a lot this year. I wouldn't say they're surprising, but Josh Allen, especially, to step up his game this year and really in this playoffs. I mean, I think he's just been the most impressive player to me this year in terms of growth from where he was before. I mean, he just looks so calm and cool. I even remember one play a week or so ago where he was standing completely still in the pocket. I mean, he's got complete control of his game. He's got all the tangibles, size and arm strength to be a great quarterback. It's good to see him put it together, and with a solid defense, I think the Bills are a dangerous team now that they have that confidence that they can do it in the playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, they kind of showcased what they've been kind of doing all year, which is Josh Allen being amazing, Diggs, doing what he does. But yeah, I think that the Bills, this Super Bowl run that they hope to have is going to be predicated on his performance. Not anybody else's. Josh Allen's performance is going to dictate how far they go. And I will say this, Josh Allen, he is a real deal top 5 quarterback in this league and in years to come. And I think that this was definitely his breakout year, but I think him getting complimented by Diggs, acquiring Diggs in the offseason, massive. And so they're a great team. The Colts, like you said, it just felt like the Bills had the Colts exactly where they wanted him. Although the Colts did have a shot late, but Phil Rivers, I mean, I don't even know if he can throw 40 yards downfield.
Yeah, he's suffering the Breeze disease right now. So
yeah, so that's why I think there was maybe one moment in the game where I thought, oh man, the Colts can really win this game, and it was early.
Right.
I think they took an early lead, and that was the only. From then on, I think that the Bills really had a stranglehold on that game. But yeah, it was a solid game. It was probably middle tier as far as when we look at the whole Super Wildcard Weekend. It was one of the middle tier games where I think it was a better game than our Saints game. It was more entertaining for sure. But it's not going to be like the best one, and that best one definitely is what we're going to talk about right now because it was a shocker of them all. Browns, Steelers,
Cleveland. This is for you.
This is for you, LeBron said. What you think, man? I mean, what was going through your mind? I mean, first quarter when things were kind of going how they were going, and then they almost blew it late, and then.
I mean, for me, it's just like until the final tick finally ticked off. I mean, it was Cleveland still could blow this. I mean, they 14-0, 21-0, 28-0. I mean, starting the game with Big Ben getting the ball snapped over his head. It was like a la what was that? The Seahawks versus Broncos Super Bowl. Peyton Manning starting the game like that. I mean, it was shocking though. I mean, certainly didn't think it was going to be 28-0, but the whole time I was still like, the Browns could still blow this. Just like the Bills, they got to exercise some demons. It's been a hot minute since winning a playoff game, let alone even being in the playoffs. So. But I mean, we've talked about the Browns in previous podcasts. We know how talented they are. And for them to finally put it together this year and put a solid record together, hats off to them. I mean, really, I mean, they took the final game to get in the playoffs. I mean, 11-5 is, I mean, and on the other side, you got the Washington football team making it 7-9, and here the Bill. I mean, Browns really should, they probably should win the division, but I mean, there's such a strong division anyway. But I mean, I didn't think they were going to completely blow it. There was a second there where the Steelers were coming back, and I think they should have went for it. I think it was early fourth. They were down, I believe, 2 scores. It was like 4th and 1 on the 40. My dad and I had a bit of a debate on this. I was like, they should go for it. And my dad was like, no, there's plenty of time. Lela, and what do you know? They punted down the field, and Browns come back and score and pretty much seal the deal from that point on. So after that, it was pretty much done deal. Proud of the Browns. Yeah, exercised some demons. I definitely didn't think it was over at all, even when it was 28-0 or 35-10, whenever they had that big lead. But they did great and exercised some demons. So happy for the Browns. And I know Uncle Robert and Kyle, and I know Miles is probably a little Browns fan too. So all of them were celebrating. I saw that all on Snapchat, celebrating it up. So I'm happy to see y'all celebrate the Browns' success for once instead of their failures.
And as a Saints fan, I got to say, the Browns fans have been loyal, true and true throughout all these years of just absolute disarray. So I think that, one, checking off making the playoffs is one thing, but also winning a playoff game and winning it in Heinz Field against the Steelers, I think those are 2 huge check marks that Browns fans have waited for this last, 20 to 30 years for. So I think whatever happens moving forward happens. I mean, I know that they get to take a trip down to Kansas City and play PM, but I mean, right now, seeing Uncle Robert and Kyle as loyal, true Browns fans, man, they've just been happy and enjoying the moment, as they should, because that game was something. To start off winning 28-0, and then you can see the momentum just shift when the Steelers were coming back. And you brought up the play, which has been talked about a lot since then, is that decision not to go for it on 4th and 1 and decide to punt. And it kind of brings me back to our debate and conversation about analytics or feel of the game and what has to come into play. And whether it's Mike Tomlin making that final decision to punt the ball, I think that if you're basing it off feel, you got to go for that.
You have all the momentum in the world. I mean, go for it. I mean,
yeah. And so that's why I think that I'm not going to say that game out been shifted, but I think that they would have had a better shot definitely of winning it because we saw the outcome of them punting it. But yeah, that was a hell of a game just because that first quarter felt like a whole game in itself because of all the stuff that was happening and the disbelief because, I mean, this is Cleveland doing this. This is the Browns doing this to the Steelers. What a game. What a game. I mean, and the fact that they played a week prior too. So the Steelers, if they really truly wanted to, they could have just, kicked the Browns out of the playoffs.
Yeah, sure.
And it started Ben, and who knows what that outcome would have been, but they had that opportunity then. Decided to rest some players. Obviously, played them again in the Wildcard Weekend, and Cleveland showed them the door. And that was a hell of a game. 48-37. Yeah. Again, a score that I don't think is an exact representation of how that game actually went. I think definitely the Browns deserve to win that game by 25 points.
Right.
At least, but hell of a game.
As a Steelers fan, I mean, it's been tough over the years seeing. I mean, you're good. You got Big Ben and solid defense always under Mike Tomlin. But, I mean, it's got to be disappointing again to lose early in the playoffs. So I guess as a Steelers fan, I feel for you. But, I don't know where exactly they go from there. I was kind of feeling some feels before Ben to see him kind of crying there at the end. He's probably going to hang it up, so we'll see.
Yeah. There was no remorse in this household, I'll tell you that. But, the Steelers too, I mean, as an organization, I mean, we know them for a franchise with so much tradition and so much history as far as winning the whole thing. I think they have 6 Super Bowls or 5. I think 6.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, but they're up there. and to see them, and really they really haven't done much this last decade and change. Ever since their win against the Cardinals,
Mm-hmm.
the tiptoe win.
Antonio Holmes.
Yeah, Antonio Holmes. Besides that, they haven't even been to the Super Bowl since then, and that's a franchise and fan base with so much tradition, so much passion. So it has been disappointing, and I think it's going to be a new leaf definitely come next year. Whether it's Tomlin out too, but I think that Ben is going to be.
Yeah,
he's
I
gonna
don't
be-
think they should fire. I mean, Tomlin hasn't had a losing record. There's no reason to fire him.
Yeah,
Especially
I actually like Tomlin as a coach.
Yeah.
I think he's a great coach, NFL coach.
I mean, they've had 4 coaches in the last 60 years, so they're
That's an insane stat. Meanwhile, the Browns have had 60 coaches in the last 4 years. But yeah, so we'll move on to our arch nemesis, I guess, for this upcoming weekend and this past year. It's Mr. Tampa Tom.
Tampa Tom.
TB12. They moved forward 31-23. They beat the Washington football team. What do you think? I mean, this was kind of a straightforward game, I think. I mean, Heineke was amazing. I'll say that.
Heineke was, for a third-string quarterback, he's earned his contract. I was watching it with one of my friends, and he exactly stated that. He's like, because another friend was like, oh, man, Washington's is gonna lose this game or whatever. And he's just like, well, I mean, this dude, he's earned his contract. I mean, third stringer to even be in that game is a miracle, especially that. I mean, that's pretty memorable, that little scramble he did there. I mean, that takes some heart to do. So hats off to him. They didn't pull it off, but, good competitive game. Tampa Tom doing Tampa Tom things, I guess. They've really gotten a good rhythm for this second half. They've been playing great. I mean, other than against the Saints, I'm guessing because Jameis Winston maybe has their playbook and is telling them the plays. But, other than against the Saints, they've been a good team. I mean, there's no reason why they can't be competitive against the Saints. But I guess the Saints just have their number. Hopefully we continue to dominate them. It's going to be a good game. Tampa Tom Brady, Hall of Famer. Some say the GOAT. It's going to be a good game against Drew Brees, who some others say is the GOAT.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. Again, competitive game between the Washington football team and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good to see Tampa Bay in the playoffs again. I mean, it's been, 12 years or so.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while. I know that Tampa definitely got, or Tom definitely got Tampa clicking at a different level than Jameis ever did. But 31-23, straightforward game. I mean, there was maybe a moment where you thought, Washington had a slimmer of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Heineke was just doing his own thing, but definitely the Ayun moment of that game was that touchdown that he had rushing, where he kind of stretched out his entire body and just reached for that pylon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Heineke's a legend. I was watching some videos of him celebrating. I think it was in the XFL where he's just shotgunning beers after the game in the locker room. So I was like,
what a beast!
This guy's a legend. And he could say he started a playoff game, which I think if you would have told him that in the beginning of the year, he would probably thought you were high. But
yeah,
he had a good performance, and who knows, he may be backing up someone next year.
Yeah.
But definitely Dwayne Haskins, that whole situation is a mess in itself, and it just kind of thrust Heineke into that role of being that full-time guy, especially with Alex Smith being out. But yeah, I think Tampa, they just outmatched.
Took care of business.
Washington. Yeah, come on. Washington didn't even win 8 games this year. So that's that. And then we move along to our final game that we're going to talk about, which was the NFC West battle. It was the Rams who ended up beating the NFC West champion Seattle Seahawks 30-20. Again, maybe a score that doesn't really dictate how that game actually went. I think the Rams definitely played well throughout the whole game.
Yeah, they were up pretty good and playing well too. They got, it was kind of weird. When I heard that they started the guy, got his name, Wolford, LinkedIn man.
Yeah,
and then he got hurt, and then Goff came back and he played great. So it's interesting to see that. The play that sticks out in my mind was the pick six. Apparently that cornerback, has Russell Wilson's number. He's got, I think, 3 picks this year on Russell Wilson. So, I mean, if you want to get Russell Wilson's number, maybe just watch film on that cornerback. I don't remember his name, but hell of a play. I mean, I think DK Metcalf was complaining the drive before that he was getting the ball. I don't know, maybe he was watching them and he's like, they're going to get him the ball. And
that interception, that was like a bubble screen or something like that. Or it was a screen, right? And then he just jumped the route.
Like perfect. Like Tracy Porter like.
Oh, man, I was about to say that gives me some Tracy Porter in Miami 31-17 vibes. You feel me? Oh, man. But yeah, that was a very surprising outcome because, I mean, I knew the Rams, they have a really talented defense with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, 2 of the arguably best defensive players in the league on the same team. But yeah, definitely with their offensive struggles at times, I mean, the defense definitely put that team on their back. And Jared Goff with his broken thumb, I mean, just doing just enough, I'd say, because I hope Mr. Wolford is okay because he took a pretty nasty lick in the beginning of the game. Yeah. And I was seeing some pictures of him like getting transported onto the ambulance and he doesn't know where he's at. Like I see that and it's sad. So definitely prayers out to Mr. Wolford, but Rams move on, which leads us into the prediction segment. What's going to happen this week? And then moving forward, we mentioned the teams that won. We mentioned the teams that are not in it. We'll go from there. We'll go for the divisional round. We'll start at the top of the AFC. Kansas City versus Cleveland. What you got? Quick. Boom, boom, boom. We'll knock it out.
I got Chiefs.
Okay. I got Chiefs.
Okay.
I got Chiefs. I will add, though, that if Cleveland is able to establish the run, keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, control that clock, because they have arguably the best running game in the league.
Kareem Hunt.
They have a shot. I'm not going to say they're going to win. I'm going to say that's their only shot, is that they can really control the clock, and if they can, I don't know how, but they can get Mahomes to turn over the ball. They can get any sort of turnovers, because I think that they're really exploit on the second level of their defense, their cornerbacks, their DBs. It's going to be tough to keep Tyreek Hill in front of you and then limit Kelsey. Those are the 2 things that I can't see it happen. So that's why I think turnovers are going to be key. They need to get to Patrick Mahomes if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cleveland's got the talent to kind of keep it close and to kind of be competitive in the game. But I think ultimately Kansas City's probably going to have that one kill shot or momentum play that really swings it. And the Browns are kind of inexperienced to this point. So, yeah, that's just how I think it's going to play out. But who knows? Maybe the Browns live up to all their talent in the world and maybe just a magical run. But I've got
playing with house money. That's what we're saying here. We're playing with house money. And so we'll go down to the bottom of the bracket now with the AFC. We got Buffalo, 2nd seed, playing against Baltimore. The game's going to be at Buffalo. This is going to be, I mean, a lot of people are anticipating this game as the game of the week alongside our game. But who do you got in this one?
I got the Buffalo Bills. I think I like the Buffalo Bills this year. And you'll see what I mean by that. But just Josh Allen's playing great, solid defense. I think they're going to be able to handle Lamar Jackson. It's interesting if it was snow. I think I kind of want it to snow just to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, weather is going to be definitely a major factor up there in Buffalo. But I actually got Baltimore. I got Baltimore advancing and beating the Bills in Buffalo. I think what we saw in the Wildcard Weekend with Lamar, you can't ask for a better start from the Titans. 10-0. Buffalo is a team that started off slow in that first game. So I think that if that carries over, if Buffalo starts off slowish again in this game, it's really going to be tough to neutralize Lamar. If Baltimore gets a lead of 7 or more, I think this game's over. I think this game's toast.
What a TBH.
Put that on the board. Yeah, put that on the board. I think that really, because Lamar has a chance to come back. I think Lamar can come back in games, as he's shown in the game.
He's shown heart this year, like I've said.
Josh Allen, if you get down 10 or more, 7 or more, as it just meant, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough because Lamar can really keep the ball out of your hands and run for those first downs. And, it's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be the game of the week.
It's going to be a great game, I think, too.
Great game, nightcap on Saturday. But I have Baltimore and KC playing in the AFC Championship. We'll flip over to the NFC side real quick. Number one, Green Bay, who's been had that week off last week. They play the Rams. Rams come to town. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the TBH. I'm going to say the Los Angeles Rams are going to go in and beat the Green Bay Packers.
Man, we on the same boat because I have the exact same thing.
Number one defense.
Same thing here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Number
I
one
got the
defense.
Rams.
What I'm going to preach on for this one.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to play. They're going to be able to neutralize Aaron Rodgers as hard as that is, as much as they can. He's probably still going to have a great game. But I don't know. I kind of just want to throw my name in the hat for an underdog winning one of them. So there that is.
Yeah, and the matchup that I think everyone is anticipating and looking forward to is going to be that Jalen Ramsey versus Devontae Adams matchup. And that's going to be a pivotal one. That's going to dictate a huge influence on that game. But I think it's also Aaron Donald, who's dealing with an injury right now. I know he injured his ribs. But Aaron Donald is an absolute dog. If he can get to Aaron Rodgers and really shake him up, that's going to be one thing. But, yeah, they're going to be having to depend a lot on the defense the Rams are if they look to win this game. But I think their defense is going to step up. They're going to pull that upset up in Green Bay and Lambeau Field and play the winner of Brady Breeze, number 3 of the year. Who you got?
I'm going to go with our Saints. I maybe it's a biased pick, but we beat them twice. I have confidence that we will beat them a third time. History will happen. A team will beat Tom Brady 3 times in a year.
It's never happened, huh?
And that's what they were saying. That was the point.
And, well, I will say this. It's never happened until this weekend. I'm with you. I think New Orleans Saints, I'm a little bit more skeptical than you are probably just because of how much, I don't know, just beating Tom Brady 3 times in a single season. I mean, that seems like you're asking for the stars to align too much. So
let's speak it into existence. We're going to do it.
But I think looking at it from a neutral perspective, who we have on paper, who they have on paper, how we've been playing, how they've been playing, we're going to come out and win this game and advance to our second NFC Championship game
against the Rams.
Yeah, so, against the Rams, a rematch of the 2019 NFC Championship game where the refs let it. I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, the refs screwed us over in that one. But yeah, so on the flip side, we'll flick back to the AFC. We had KC and Baltimore. Who you got in that look ahead?
I had the Bills versus Chiefs for my picks.
Right.
I had the Bills winning and going to the Super Bowl.
Damn.
Hello.
Are they losing 5 in a row?
We'll
hold it.
I was just thinking that.
But quick, I'm sticking with the team that I picked in the beginning of the year at Kansas City. I think that they're gonna just do enough against Lamar. It's gonna be a high scoring affair.
It's gonna be a fun one if that happens.
That's a fun one for sure. But I have Kansas City. They just have too much firepower on offense. They're gonna reach this Super Bowl for the second consecutive year. So yeah, that's who I have representing the AFC.
Good pick. We both
back to the NFC. Yep. Who you got with we have the same matchup. We have the Rams 6th seed versus our Saints.
I've got the Saints.
Okay.
Magic year. We're gonna do it.
Magic year, huh?
We're gonna get there.
I really do hope so.
Exercise some demons.
Being the Rams. Yeah, I have the Saints beating the Rams. I have this as a route.
Oh, hello.
I have this as a Alabama Ohio State route from Monday night. Sorry, Miles, I don't want to bring that up, but I have it as a route. I think that we just outmatch them in all areas. Our defense can definitely get to Goff or whoever's back there. And our run game, the Rams have a really good run game. That's how they won that first game behind Cam Akers just rushing for like 150 or something like that.
He was a beast.
But our run game has been phenomenal these last 3 years, but especially this year too. So I got us beating KC. You got us beating the Bills. All right. What is your final score prediction for the Super Bowl?
So Saints versus Bills. And this would probably be Drew Brees' last game.
Wow.
I have the Saints winning 31-20.
Okay.
Mm.
I think that's the exact same score as last year. No, last year was I think it was like 34-20. But yeah, wow. Okay.
And I will say this, with us choosing Saints, I will say you will see an old Drew Brees type of game where he shows his old self at least once.
Wow. So this is going to be not like a Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl.
No, this isn't like throwing ducks all over the field. This is
Right.
We're going to see one last hurrah with Drew Brees.
Like this is going to be his old line where he's like throwing for 350, three
Yeah.
touchdowns.
Yes.
I sure hope so, because that is a phenomenal pick,
Mm.
and there's a lot of
You got-
bias to that. But
You going to pick the Chiefs?
I got the Chiefs beating our Saints, man, and I have to defer from you. And this is literally what I have. Like this is not like I'm just choosing. No, I have
I see it.
it's backwards, but I have KC. They're gonna win 31-28.
Mm.
It's gonna be a high scoring affair too, but I think KC just does just enough. Saints fans don't light me on fire right now, but I'm trying to do the opposite jinx too, if you will. But that's the prediction that we had to start the season. KC winning the Lombardi. That's the pick that I'm sticking with at the expense of our beloved Saints. But that's what we have. We're excited for this upcoming divisional round. I know you are, Peter.
Yeah, no, NFL football has been good considering all the circumstances with COVID. They, like we said earlier, they've actually finished the full season. They didn't cancel any games, and the playoffs had a great super wildcard weekend. So looking forward to watching the rest of the way.
Definitely deserving of that name, Super Wildcard, as it was a fun weekend. I mean, Saturday you had 3 games, Sunday you had 3 games, and then Monday to cap it off, it was the national championship game for college football. I know that it wasn't the result that us LSU fans wanted to see with Nick Saban winning another one, but I mean, it was a great football weekend, if you will,
for sure,
with all the games. And so we're excited. We're gonna go over, how these picks eventually panned out to be once the Super Bowl concludes. But yeah, man, what an episode! What an episode back to talking about NFL and recapping a lot of stuff, Peter. I had a good time.
Always a fun time talking about football with you, Ryan. Good stuff.
And appreciate everyone if you tuned in for the entire segment. Man, you are built different. If you sticked around, we still appreciate you guys. Again, subscribe, comment, like, you know the deal. Peter, continue pumping out those golf stories that we all love. And then just look forward to more content being put out by us. Again, 2021, Happy New Year to everyone. Again, once more, hopefully this year is full of blessings. 2020 was a crazy one. We all know that, but we just hope you guys are still staying safe out there. But yeah, that's it. That's all the Anaks podcast has to offer today. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Ryan.
This is Peter.
And we out.
There you
Peace,
go.
peace. Who that, baby? Love you, Christian.